Welcome to Maths Clips. Today we will cover the remainder concept involving multiple remainders. Now in previous lessons we learned about the remainder concept and we have done a redivision by taking the remainder and subdividing them into parts. We also worked on parts of the remainder. Now in today's lesson we are going to apply the remainder concept several times because we're going to work on many different remainders. Now we have to be clear of the sequence. For example, we have to know when is the at first problem sum, and then we have to work on the then sequence followed by in the end. Okay, so whether the problem sums come in fractions involving different denominators, we should not be afraid of them as long as we have a clear mind of the sequence. Now let's take a look as an example. Daniel shared a packet containing some sweets with three friends, Andy, Bob, and Chris. He gave 1/3 of the sweets and an additional 24 to Andy, then 1/4 of the remainder and an additional 3 sweets to Bob, and 1/3 of what was left and an additional 15 sweets to Chris. If he had 35 sweets left, how many sweets did Daniel have at first? So we'll start with the sentence that gives us a relationship. He gave 1/3 of the sweets and an additional 24 to Andy. Okay. So start with the first step is to draw model with 3 equal parts. He gave 1/3 of the sweets, so that's one part, and an additional 24 to Andy. Okay, so that's the total. Next part is then 1/4 of the remainder, okay, and an additional 3 sweets to Bob. So the 1/4 of the remainder would start from here right through here. So 1/4 of that, we'll break that up into 4 parts and shade that for one part and additional 3 sweets and label that for Bob. The next one is and 1/3 of what was left and additional 15 sweets to Chris. So again, we mark where the beginning is and where the end is, and we're going to take 1/3 of what was left. So we're going to break that into 3 parts and additional 15 sweets and mark that for Chris. So if he had 35 sweets left, okay, so that means the remaining here would be for Daniel and a total of 35. Okay, and the question is, how many sweets did Daniel have at first? So to solve this, we're going to start from the bottom. Okay, now so 2 units would make up 35 plus 15, and that's 50. So we solve for 1 unit, which is 50 divided by 2 to get 25. And then altogether there are 3 units. So we're going to solve for 3 units, which gives us 25 times 3 for 75. Now we use the 75 to look at the bar model number 2. Okay. So again here there are now 3 units and we solve from the earlier part 75. So we're going to add 75 to the 3 to get 78. So 3 units make up 78. And we're going to solve for 1 unit, which is 78 divided by 3 to get 26. And we'll solve for a total of 4 units, right? So 4 units would give us 26 times 4, and that gives us 104. Okay, we'll take the 104 and solve that on bar model number 1. Okay, so the 104 and 24 will give us 128, and that makes up 2 units. Then we'll solve for 1 unit, which will be 128 divided by 2, and that gives us 64. And since there are a total of 3 units, we're going to solve for 3 units, which is 64 times 3 for 192. Okay, so that whole bar would give us the number of sweets that Daniel had. Okay, so Daniel had 192 sweets at first. In our next lesson, we're going to cover the equal concept in numerator values. Thanks for watching.